Welcome to The Gailey Show. You're listening to AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I am your host, JP Derek-Bogosian. On this show, we celebrate all things LGBTQ culture and entertainment in Minnesota and beyond. And we also love featuring queer artists and musicians and authors and actors on this show. And so I am very happy that we have an actor in a current production of Carole King the Musical at Chanhassen Dinner Theaters. Michael Gruber joins us now. Michael, hello. Welcome to The Gailey Show.
Thanks. So great to be here.
Absolutely. So tell us about yourself and the show that you're starring in.
So we're doing Beautiful right now, which is the Carole King bio musical. It has all of Carole King and Jerry Goffin's music, as well as Cynthia Weil and Barry Mann's music. They were both kind of competitive songwriting teams from the 50s into the 60s. And it sort of takes a look at Carole King's life before she became a solo artist. Well, actually right on the brink of it, because the final scene is her famous Carnegie Hall concert that sort of came on the release of her Tapestry album, which of course launched her as a solo artist. But very few people know that she actually was just a songwriter from age 16 on. She wrote for many people, the Drifters and the Shirelles and many other artists. And I played Donnie Kirshner, who was actually sort of her musical producer, and kind of matched up her songwriting with the artists. That was sort of what he did so well, and was able to recognize a really great song and then be able to get it to the right artist to record. So that's my contribution to the storytelling.
What is that like as an actor and being obviously in musical production and musical theater to then be kind of portraying the musical production side of things?
Well, it's great. I mean, I have spent most of my career sort of as a song and dance man. And it's wonderful now, as I get very close to 60, that I'm able to play more of the, dramatic parts that just have to speak. So I enjoy that very much. It was similar to, I had just done Jersey Boys, which we did, which is, of course, the Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons biopic musical. And I played Gyp DeCarlo, who was sort of the New Jersey gangster who supported them in their early rise to fame. So that was another part where I didn't really have to sing or dance. I just spoke. And that's nice. It's really nice.
Absolutely. And how long have you been with Chanhassen?
I moved, the first show I did, I lived in New York for 23 years, and they were looking for a person to play the Fred Astaire role in Easter Parade, this world premiere of Easter Parade that they did. And I'm terrible with dates, but I want to say it was 2007, maybe.
Wow.
And so they went to New York, and I met with Michael Brindisi, and he offered me the part. So I came out here. That was my original contact with Minneapolis. I had been looking for another place to move because I didn't really want to spend my 50s and 60s in New York City. I was kind of wanted to go back to the Midwest. I grew up in Ohio and Cincinnati, so it was a really good, I just love it here. And I also met my husband in that show that I came out here. Little did I know I would be moving to Minnesota, doing Easter Parade, met Tony, and then, and then it seemed a logical place for me to move to. And so, now we live here, and it's fantastic. And Chanhassen has been very good to both Tony and myself. Tony's son, actually, we're doing White Christmas next. He's playing the Danny Kaye part, and I'm playing the Bing Crosby part.
Oh, wow.
And this will be his 50th show at Chanhassen.
Oh, wow.
So he's had a really long career at working at Chanhassen. But we both worked at the Guthrie, and I worked at the History Theater and Theater Latte Da and some other places. So it's been nice to do other things too. But primarily, Michael and Tam have been very good to both of us and given us a place to work. So I'm thrilled.
That must have been a heady experience to play Fred Astaire in a world premiere production.
Yeah, it was great. And I love Chanhassen. I love what the theater stands for, I love their, there's just a real family feeling there, and everybody is so supportive to each other, and it's very inclusive, and it's just great. It's a great place to work. I feel very blessed to be a member of the company there.
Everybody I talk to says amazing things just like that about Chanhassen. So it is a treasure that we have here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. And so if you haven't been to beautiful, the Carole King Musical yet, and you live in the cities, what are you waiting for? And if you are in any of the other parts of the United States and you want to visit Minnesota, now is the time to do it. It's gorgeous here in the summertime, and it'd be a beautiful vacation for you. Michael, how did you come to be an actor?
Well, I kind of started in high school. I mean, it's a pretty typical story, I guess. I started really on the music side of it. I was a choir geek. That was my whole thing, was being in choir. And then through that, I sort of got into the musicals. And then through that, I got sort of into the drama club. And so I got pretty involved in high school. But at the same time, I was a springboard and platform diver. And so I was kind of heading for the Olympics at that time.
What?
I was a two-time Ohio high school state diving champion. I was second in the world when I was 14 at World Age Groups in Stuttgart, Germany, on 3 meter and platform. Yeah. So, and I was a two-time national champion and age group champion. And so I went to University of Michigan. I got a scholarship with one of the Olympic coaches, Dick Kimball. And so that was kind of my trajectory. Although along with that, I was very much involved in the drama department and the choir and the musicals and all that stuff. So it's kind of like both very interested in. And so I decided my senior year in high school, I really wanted to pursue a music career, much to my father's kind of misgivings, perhaps, But so I went to University of Michigan on a diving scholarship, and I was a vocal performance major at the music school there. And then the '84 Olympic trials came, and I didn't qualify for the trials. So I decided I didn't want to train another 4 years, because it's just very, exclusive when you get to that level. I mean, there's just a few people. I mean, at that time it was Greg Louganis, who was always one of the place. And then there was like 2 more slots for the other people. So I just decided I wanted to pursue my performing arts career. So I transferred from Michigan because I lost my diving scholarship, obviously. And I went to the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music and did my junior and senior year there. So I had really good training, and then I just moved to New York. So I kind of, that's how I got into it. It was sort of through high school, I guess.
Wait, so at the trials, were you there when Greg Louganis was there, like competing with him for a spot?
Yeah, well, I wasn't. So I could have qualified for the trials had I done better at NCAAs. I wasn't NCAA All-American because I qualified on 1 meter, but 1 meter is not an Olympic event. But I did follow him in several, I think just once in a men's final, a U.S. diving men's final. We followed each other because I made the top 8. So you repeat your whole list again. So that was pretty thrilling. And I knew him. I mean, I almost went to Mission Viejo, which was his diving team, with Ron O'Brien was his coach when I was in high school. But my parents just really discouraged me to move away to train. And I don't blame them, because I had great coaching in Cincinnati. So it's just choices we make, but yeah, I knew him not particularly well because we weren't on the same team, but I would see him at national, competitions and stuff like that.
Wow.
He was an amazing person. He's an amazing person.
He is. I heard that he was like still diving. Do you still dive?
No. I stopped about 40 years ago. I remember in my 20s, I was trying to kind of go back and it's just, it's just, I had lost interest and moved on to other things. And so I stopped. But the thing that was so amazing about Greg, I have to say, and I'm sure you probably have the same reaction, there was such joy in what he did. And I think that's why he was such a great competitor, because he never got there was no sort of nervousness or judgment around it. He just loved what he did. Now, maybe it's because he was so extraordinary and so much better than everyone else, but I don't know what comes first, because I think his love of what he was doing like far trumped the sort of competitive side of it, because I never saw him get anxious or tight. He was always so chilled out and just, I mean, it was amazing to watch him and be there during that time when he was really in his prime. So yeah, that was great.
Well, we have to wrap it up here for the radio broadcast, but I still have a few more questions for you. So I want to keep this conversation going. Folks, you can tune into our YouTube channel or stream this episode everywhere that you get your podcasts, or at am950radio.com. Michael, how can folks get tickets for Beautiful, the Carole King musical?
Well, you can call the box office, or you can, I think it's Chanhassen, CDT.com, I think might be the web, ChanhassenDinnerTheater.com. But anywhere you go, if you just put in Chanhassen Dinner Theater, it'll take you to the website, and it'll give you the information about what the box office number is, or I think you can call, order tickets online too. But it's really fantastic show, and the audiences have been going crazy, and I am having so much fun. Monet Sable, who is the Carole King, is extraordinary. And I just, I encourage anyone who has a love for that kind of music, or just for great light summer entertainment.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Michael, for being here today on The Gailey Show.
Thank you.
Okay. And continuing on from there. So I once upon a time, and folks who have been listening for a while now, when I talk to actors, I admit I was a thespian when I first got out of high school, went to college for it. And I'm always curious, based off of my experiences just being in a, acting conservatory, how did you find navigating the career as a queer person?
Wow, that's a great question. We're talking, I mean, this was quite a long, because I'll be 60 in November. So I started my career, I moved to New York in 1986. Mm-hmm. So it was right in the AIDS crisis, which was interesting. And also, it was a different time. I mean, I don't think any of us were particularly vocal or forthcoming, or even, and certainly not thinking that being a queer artist was something to our advantage, which I think now it is, which is fantastic to see that shift and change. I have a very dear friend of mine who is a queer artist, and he actually leans into it. It's like what he uses, what he thinks is actually what makes him special and unique with his point of view. And he's always looking for what he's doing with a slight lens of his queerness. I, of course, was not brought up that way. And I played a lot of, romantic leads. And it wasn't something that you had to necessarily be ashamed of, but you certainly didn't broadcast it, I think. So that was kind of unfortunate. And I talked to I think I'm still challenged with my own internalized homophobia. And it's something that the younger actors, queer actors, are helping me actually heal. And it's weird, because you think that as an older performer, you would be the one that's sort of, and in many ways, perhaps I do in certain ways, am an example, but certainly in this area, they are the example to me. Their freedom and sense of pride and sense of authenticness, because that's what I feel like I never really had a grip on when I was younger. And I'm still struggling with it right now, truly finding my authentic self without any kind of, what's the word? Modification or awareness of code of, can I be completely that can I let that feminine side of myself really be a part of my work, or do I always kind of keep an eye on it? So yeah, I guess that's kind of where I am with that. Does that make sense?
Oh no, everything you're saying resonates with me right now, because I was at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and the British American Drama Academy in the early aughts, so like that 2000 to 2004 period, and it was a mind bender to have to think, okay, I have to play this character, but I have to transform myself into a straight person to then play this character to make sure that people aren't reading it as queer coded. It was so, the mind pretzels that, you know, you had to, like, people were doing voice work, and I'm like, well, how do I make sure that my voice is neutral and doesn't sound queer, right? So I don't have like the gay accent, which is why I hated the video classes. I hated any of those classes they recorded us, because it would make me, you know, other people were like, oh, I just hate the sound of my voice. And for me, I'm like, I can't confront the fact if my voice sounds queer, because that's going to not let me work, which is an entirely different thing, right? So what you're saying there about having to unlearn that, I mean, once it gets in there, it's really hard to unlearn that homophobia, because it's literally systemic. It's around you everywhere. But there is progress. I mean, like we were saying with the younger generation coming up now of queer actors, but also, did you think when you got started back then in the late 80s, early 90s, that one day you'd be at a theater married and fully supported by that theater?
No. And I actually, it's coming from me, I have to say, but I still don't quite trust it. Yeah. And that's an interesting thing. It is my growth that, I mean, Tony is a little bit more, he has less internalized homophobia than I do, which is lovely to have that as a partner, because he helps me confront it. And, you know, he doesn't sort of let me, we don't sort of create an internalized bubble that we live in that, you know, so I'm very appreciative of that. And, but it is, especially it's like, let's say we're doing like Christmas, we're both playing, the kind of the lead men who both have female or straight or cisgendered, and people are sort of kind of getting to know us that we are a gay couple. And then you wonder how much the audience is going to then respond, or what will be the part of that filter. And you start to question all of that, because it's new territory, you know? And whenever we change what's comfortable, or what we, you know, have used in the past to be successful, or however we define that, I find that to be challenging, but that's a good challenge. And the theater is completely supportive, obviously. So even like when Chris Howland, our you know, publicity PR, she says, you can talk about this. It's kind of like, really? I can talk about this? It's not something that the theater wants to keep under wraps, you know? And she's like, no, you know, you're going on this radio station. This is what it's all about. And I'm like, oh, okay, right? That's kind of fun, you know?
I love that.
So
I love that. I love that we're seeing that, and we're getting to be the ones who get to live through that period of change. Is there a queer either musical or play that really meant a lot to you?
Well, I played Whizzer and Falsettos in the 90s at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta. With a wonderful director, David Bell, who is a queer director, directs mostly in Chicago. It's a big place where he does a lot of work, but incredible director. And this was, you know, I was in my maybe early 30s when I did this. So I was even sort of earlier on in my journey of understanding myself and being more and more comfortable doing. And it was the first time and I think the only time I've ever played an actual gay character on stage.
Wow.
And of course the piece is so powerful, and, you know, but that was very life-changing and thought-provoking and challenging. And, but it's rare, you know, it's rare to get to play queer characters in musical theater, because there aren't really that many. I mean, I'm even trying to think. I mean, unless you're doing something like, and most of them are for young people too, at this point, because, you know, I'm kind of aging out, and they're playing like from not even the dads. Now I'm going to the grandfather, where they're like, so it's great to see other people, like Billy Porter's was a good friend of mine. I mean, we grew up together. We were both in Miss Saigon together on Broadway when he was first starting out.
Oh, wow.
I used to do some arranging and backup singing for him early on in his early cabarets and stuff. So I was really there at the beginning of his career. I think he was only 24 maybe, because I was 26, 22 maybe even. But so to see him emerge into this incredible icon of his authenticness, and he's one that I just absolutely, I'm amazed, because he was always authentic to himself, always, even in the beginning. And you just knew that if he had the right opportunity, and Kinky Boots, man, and then Ryan Murphy, he had the right people around him. And then all of a sudden he has become who he always was. Even when he was in his early 20s, there was that spark of like, this is who I am. And and of course the extraordinary talent that he had. So there is that. And I think he's helped change, I think in particular. And also, I'm blanking on his name. Oh God, I love him, and I can't. Hamilton. He was the original King George.
Jonathan Groff.
Jonathan Groff. I mean, people like that who are really, really changing really helped. I don't know, move what is acceptable and what is valued.
I just got to see my very first Broadway show in May, and I was just so happy that it was Merrily We Roll Along, starring Jonathan Groff. I'm like, I couldn't have done it any better. Yeah.
He's amazing.
So
He's
special.
Amazing.
So special. And so, genuine when I read interviews that he gives. He just, again, to your point of being authentic, just very, very honestly himself all the time.
And you can feel that. I'm sorry, but you can feel that relaxation when, I think that's why they're successful too. Because I think for me early on, things that kept me kind of down actually was this facade that I had, that people just read that there was something that wasn't really quite relaxed, even though I did 8 Broadway shows. So it wasn't like I didn't have a good career, but I think I could have done more had I just been a little bit more proud of who I was, which I think the people who succeed really are. It's a great lesson.
It is. And that's a great point to leave it for right now. I've loved this conversation, Michael. And so I want you to come back when you're in your next show, which sounds like it's White Christmas coming up this fall. So you are a friend of the show. Definitely come back anytime that you've got a new production going on at Chanhassen or elsewhere here in the Twin Cities. How can folks follow you on social if they want to do that?
I am really not a social media guy.
Oh, you're so lucky.
But I am on Instagram. So Instagram, and I think it's Michael Gruber 27 is my Instagram. But basically, it's just they're just pictures of what I'm doing, or what I've done in my past career and stuff. But that's it.
That's
I'm
great.
not really a social media guy. I think I'm just too old.
I'm of an age and where people think I should still be doing it, and I'm down to one Instagram, and I want to get rid of that, but I can't because we do fun content. But anyway, Michael, this has been such a delight. Thank you for joining us here on The Gaily Show.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it immensely.
Well, that is our show for today. Thanks everyone for listening and or watching. Our podcasts are executive produced by Jim Pounds. Creative and accounting support provided by Gordy Erickson. Production, distribution, and marketing support provided by Brett Johnson, Chad Larson, Laura Headland, and Jennifer Ogren from AM 950. You can find us on social media. Search for This Queer Book Saved My Life on Facebook. We're at This Queer Book on Instagram and at _Gaily Show. Follow us on Instagram for preview clips from upcoming episodes. For The Gaily Show, check out our YouTube channel, unless you're watching us there right now. We're also on AM 950's YouTube channel and Facebook page. As always, you can connect with us through our website, thisqueerbook.com. On our website, you can leave me a voice message of the current LGBTQ books, film, or TV you're loving right now. And if you send me a message, I will play it on the air to share with our community. Go to our homepage, thisqueerbook.com, scroll down, and you will see an orange box with a microphone. Click it and share your message of what queer media you're loving to watch or read. And if you have LGBTQ entertainment news with a Minnesota angle, email gayleyshow@thisqueerbook.com. That's GAILY show@thisqueerbook.com. And until our next episode, see you queers and allies in the bookstores.